Welcome to This Explainer. As a financial advisor, I talk to so many ambitious young professionals who are grinding it out, working incredibly hard to climb that career ladder. And chances are, you're making more money right now than you ever have before. But somehow, you might still feel like you're just treading water financially. Well, today, we're going to uncover exactly why a high income simply doesn't guarantee wealth, and much more importantly, how you can actually start building lasting financial freedom. Here is your blueprint to financial independence. We'll be looking at the wealth illusion, the with effect trap, consumer versus investor, the cost of today, the power of compounding, and we'll wrap up with automating your wealth. Section 1. The wealth illusion. Looking rich versus being rich. Let's dive in. Financial author David Bach tells us absolutely fascinating story about a couple, Jim and Susan, who came to him for retirement advice. Jim had been working at the exact same company for 30 years, and Susan was a beautician. Their combined income was $40,000, which was actually well below the national average of $50,000 at the time. By most conventional standards, they looked pretty poor, and David just assumed they'd have to keep working for at least another 10 years. But when he actually looked at their financial documents, he was completely shocked. They owned 2 houses outright, worth $800,000. They had $1.3 million in savings, $150,000 in bonds, and $62,000 in cash. Zero debt. Their net worth was literally $2 million. David was stunned. How does a couple making a below-average income quietly become multimillionaires? Well, before we answer how Jim and Susan pulled that off, consider this story from Morgan Housel, the author of The Psychology of Money. When he was a young guy, he worked as a valet at a 5-star hotel. There was this one guy who used to always roll up in a super flashy Porsche. Then one day, out of nowhere, the same guy showed up driving a beat-up old Honda. When Morgan asked him what happened, the man admitted he'd bought the Porsche on loans, couldn't afford the monthly payments, and the bank repossessed it. And this brilliantly illustrates a harsh reality I see all the time. That guy in the Porsche was financing a lifestyle he simply couldn't afford. In reality, he was poorer than the valet parking his car. Looking rich and actually being rich are 2 completely different things. Section 2. The with effect trap. Why higher income doesn't equal more wealth. As a young professional, you put in the hours, you get promotions, your salary goes up, and you naturally feel like you've made it, right? But watch how this trap builds. When you're making 15,000 taka, you take the bus, bring your lunch from home, and wear a 500 taka watch. Then you get a bump to 50,000 taka, and suddenly you're taking ride shares, buying lunch out, maybe wearing a 5,000 taka watch. By the time you hit that 6-figure salary, you're driving your own financed car, dining out at expensive hotels, and rocking a 15,000 taka watch. Your spending has automatically inflated perfectly in sync with your income. And the truth is, no matter how much you earn, if your lifestyle creep matches your raises dollar for dollar, you're stuck. You're just building an illusion of wealth, not the real thing. Section 3. Consumer versus investor. Let's talk about the McDonald's lesson. So when David Bach was a kid, his dad took him to McDonald's and casually asked him how many types of people were in the restaurant. David, being a kid, said 2, the people eating the food and the people working behind the counter. But his dad corrected him. He introduced a 3rd type of person, the investor, the people who actually own a piece of the company. Even if they aren't physically in the building flipping burgers, they're earning money from every single meal sold. As a young professional, you have to consciously make a choice about which of these 3 you're going to be. Are you just going to consume? Are you just going to trade your time for a paycheck? Or are you going to own a piece of the system? Right after that trip to McDonald's, David's dad actually took him to a stockbroker and bought him a single share of McDonald's stock. From that day forward, David started saving his pocket money to buy more shares instead of just buying burgers. He realized something absolutely crucial. To build real wealth, you have to sacrifice a few small pleasures today to buy shares of tomorrow's happiness. You have to actively redirect your money from fleeting consumption directly into ownership. Section 4. The cost of today. Let's look at the true price of enjoying life now. Now, look, I completely get the urge to reward yourself after a grueling week at the office. Take a 28-year-old professional named Chanchal, who still lives at home with his parents. He asks a really common question: why work so hard and not enjoy life? He uses that exact logic to justify his daily coffee runs, nice hotel lunches, grabbing pizza, and hitting the weekend parties. And honestly, on the surface, it sounds entirely reasonable. But there is a massive hidden danger to this mindset. That hidden danger is all in the math. Let's say all those little daily treats add up to roughly 700 taka a day. It doesn't seem like a big deal for a successful professional, right? But let's zoom out for a second. That adds up to a staggering 252,000 taka, literally eaten and drank away every single year. And the problem isn't just the money that's gone, it's the future shock that's coming. Right now, Chenchel's parents are essentially subsidizing his lifestyle by keeping a roof over his head. But eventually, he's going to want a family. He'll need his own home. His parents aren't going to cover his living expenses forever. So if he is totally accustomed to blowing 21,000 taka a month on pure discretionary fun, adjusting that bloated lifestyle later to suddenly pay for a mortgage and diapers, that is going to be incredibly painful. A sudden lifestyle downgrade like that always feels like a punishment.
Section 5. The power of compounding. This is the math behind those small daily choices.
Let's look at what would happen if Chanchal flipped the script, if he shifted from being a pure consumer to an investor. What if, instead of spending that whole 700 taka every day, he took just a tiny, tiny fraction of it, only 100 taka a day, and invested it? If he invested that 100 taka a day into a market that averages a 15% return, which, by the way, is historically in line with markets like the Indian Stock Exchange over a 40-year period, the results are absolutely mind-blowing. Over 30 years, that little 100 taka a day snowballs into over 10.7 million taka. And this is exactly why you can't just save cash under your mattress. If you just stuffed that 100 taka in a drawer for 30 years, you'd only have slightly over a million taka to show for it. But thanks to the magic of compounded growth, your money actually works for you, generating over 10 times that amount. Compounding does the heavy lifting here. The real challenge isn't finding 100 taka a day. It's having the pure discipline to do it every single day for decades, especially when your motivation inevitably fades. Section 6. Automating your wealth. The set it and forget it strategy. Because relying on sheer willpower is a losing game. You have to remove human error completely. You need the Automatic Millionaire blueprint. Remember Jim and Susan from the beginning of our explainer, the couple making $40K a year who somehow built a $2 million net worth? This is exactly how they did it. From the day Jim got his very first paycheck, he set up an automatic 5% deduction straight into his investments. He literally never even saw the money in his checking account. As his income went up over the years, he bumped that automated transfer to 10% and then 15%. They didn't rely on strict budgets or end-of-the-month discipline. They just automated it the second payday hit. And you can start doing this today. If you set up an automatic transfer of just 5,000 taka a month, which is money you probably wouldn't even miss if it never hit your primary account, you can build a 1 crore portfolio in about 12 years, assuming reasonable market returns. By simply redirecting money you would have wasted anyway, entirely on autopilot, you're literally buying your financial freedom without feeling the pinch of a strict budget. I want to leave you with this one final, provocative thought. When your hard-earned paycheck hits your bank account this month, who gets paid first? Does it immediately flow out to the coffee shop, the rideshare company, and your landlord? Or do you automatically pay your future self first? Make the choice today to automate your wealth. Stop just working endlessly for your money and finally force your money to work for you. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.